Hello everyone, welcome to Options with Doug, streaming live on Monday and Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Bookmap Discord and the Bookmap YouTube channel. Before I get started, I need to go through the disclosures. General disclosure: all Bookmap limited materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure: trading futures, equities, and options involves substantial risk of loss. It is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. And hello, Stephen. Welcome. Glad you're here. Dan P. And thank you very much. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Here's my contact information. The best way to get in touch with me is through Discord. My name on Discord is Doug P. Also in Bookmap Discord, there's an Options-Doug chat channel. That's a great place to post questions, comments, and content related to the topics of my presentation and the topics of my channel that I'll go through in just a moment. I'm also on X. My name there is @DougPless. Here are the key tenets to my approach to trading. I believe that options trades and market maker hedging activity are key drivers of price in many stocks and futures. That certainly applies to the large cap tech stocks like the Magnificent Seven stocks, as well as the equity index futures like the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100. And for the S&P 500, SPX is the underlying index, SPY is the ETF version of that index, and the ES Futures contract is a derivative of SPX. And when traders buy and sell puts and calls in SPX and SPY, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they hedge their delta exposure with ES Futures. And for the NASDAQ 100, NDX is the underlying index, QQQ is the much more liquid ETF version of that index, and the NQ Futures contract is a derivative of NDX. And just like the S&P 500, when traders buy and sell puts and calls in NDX and QQQ, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they hedge their delta exposure with NQ Futures. The focus of my presentation today and the focus of the Options-Doug chat channel is options order flow, the impact of options markets on stocks and futures, and the influence of market maker hedging flow on price action. I have a two-step process for trading, and the first is planning, and I use positional analysis. I look at how traders and market makers are positioned in the options market and how those positions change from day to day to develop a thesis regarding the expected trading range and volatility for the day, as well as a directional bias. And the second step in my process is execution. I look at real-time order flow in Bookmap and real-time market maker hedging flow in Spotgamma Hero to confirm my thesis, and for setups. And when I talk about setups today, I will be focusing on an underlying asset. Setups in that asset can be taken with futures contracts, shares of stock, or options, depending on the asset as well as the way you like to trade. And questions or comments are welcome, and I will be be watching both the chat and the Options-Doug chat channel, as well as the chat and YouTube for your questions or comments. And before let me go over my agenda, then I want to go over announcement before I get to news items. So here's my agenda for today, Monday, June 2nd. First of all, I want to go over news items, economic data and events for today, as well as the rest of the week. Then I'll go through my positional analysis. I want to focus at a couple of key turning points, especially in the S&P 500 today. Then I'll review some setups based on those turning points from earlier today. Then I'll get to the live market. And when I get to the live market, if anyone has any stocks they want me to take a look at, please let me know. I'll be glad to do that. All right, let's start with, before I get to news items, I do want to make an announcement. And Bookmap is having a fun competition here. It is a trading desk photo competition. And I have posted a link in Discord here. You can see the link up above here. It is just bookmap.com/bookmapdesk. And the idea is that you take a photo of your trading desk and then you post it on social media. That would be either X, Instagram or LinkedIn with the hashtag Bookmap Desk, and you're eligible to win prizes shown here on this page, the Bookmap Desk Trading Desk Photo Competition. And I did post my trading desk photo earlier today. Here it is in X, Twitter. And then I have a full screen. So what this is, I have actually 3 computers. On the left, I have an older M1 Mac Mini, and that's a 27-inch 4K monitor. And that is an older computer. It's not really, I guess, it's barely capable of running Bookmap. So that's mainly the screen. When I talk about the screen on my left for watching Bookmap Hero, that's what I use. And then my main computer is a PC. That is a Digital Storm PC that's shown right here. It's also pretty old, but still very capable. Big beast of a computer. I have 2 screens. Those are older monitors. They are 24-inch, again, 4K monitors. And I'm plenty happy with 2 monitors. I really can't focus on anything more the way I trade. And then over on the right, I have a newer, this is an M2 MacBook Pro with 32 gigs of RAM. It is perfectly capable of running everything I want to run on it, including Bookmap. But I primarily run Bookmap on my main PC. So those are my computers, 3 different computers. And then I have, I do like to listen to music. So I have audio engine speakers, 2 sets, one for the left computer, one for my main computer. Also use DACs, iFi Zen and Zen 2 DACs to listen to music. So when I'm working at my desk, I do like to, not during trading hours, I do like to listen to music. All right, so that is my, my trading desk, and I did post that for the competition. All right, so let's move on now. Let's take a look at the news for this week, for today and this week. And I'm looking at the Spotgamma dashboard here, the home screen. Here's the events calendar for the week. So there was some PMI data that came out today, and the main PMI, the ISM manufacturing PMI, came out at 10 a.m. and that came in less than expected, less than previous, also less than 50, indicating contraction. All right, so that was for today. There was also S&P manufacturing PMI that came out at 9:45. Then tomorrow, 10 a.m., JOLTS data, jobs opening data. And then on Wednesday, 10 a.m., ISM services PMI data. On Thursday, jobless claims, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And then on Friday, the big data release of the week, 8:30 a.m., the jobs report. So that will wrap up the week of data reports. 1 or 2 data reports every week, again, with the key data report being the jobs report on Friday. All right, so let's move on. Move on to positional analysis now. And I'm going to start with the SP 500. This is the ES Futures and Bookmap. And as promised, I'm going to focus on 2 key turning points today, so we can look at the clues in Bookmap as well as Spotgamma levels and what options traders are doing. We'll take a look at Hero to see these clues at these 2 key turning points. All right, so with that, let's move on. Let's take a look at a higher time frame. Let's go to SPX, the underlying index. We'll start with a 1-day chart. So this is a 1-day, 1-year chart for SPX. Let me point out a couple of recent key events. So here's the gap down after the April 2nd Liberation Day. Price spoke above that level, right around 5,700, and has really traded in about a 200-point range since then, from around 57.65 to 59.65. All right, so let's move on now. Let's take a look at a 30-day 1-hour chart, shown right here. So here's the most recent gap. This was Monday, May 12th. And as you recall, over the weekend, news came out about a pause in the China tariffs, some sort of agreement with China. Market like that gapped up, and since then has traded again in that 200-point range, with again low side right around 57.65, high side right around 59, looks like 59.68. All right, let's take a look at the levels on this chart. And let's zoom in on this just a little bit. So we can see these more clearly. All right, so let's start with the expected moves. First of all, the dashed purple lines are showing the lower and upper weekly expected move. This is based on the options market, based on the closing price for SPX from last Friday. Those levels remain in place for the entire week. So again, that's based on the options market, based on the closing price for SPX from last Friday. And then the dashed blue lines are showing the lower and upper daily expected move, also based on the options market, based on the closing price for SPX from, again, last Friday. And those change every day based on the closing price from the previous day. I do post those levels in Discord every day the evening before. So that lower daily expected move today that acted as support almost to the tick. I did post that in Discord. I did post that in Discord yesterday afternoon. Let's just check that. So the lower daily expected move was 5861.79. And here Thinkorswim is showing the low. At 5861.43. So within a point there. All right, so that was the lower daily expected move acting as support. All right, let's take a look at the Spotgamma levels on this chart. These are the dark red lines. They're based on gamma-weighted open interest. They're provided to Spotgamma subscribers. I'm going to point out the key daily levels. First of all, the put wall has dropped down to 5,700 now. That's a strike with largest net negative gamma that can be expected to act as support. And again, that level did drop down from Friday. The next level up is the volatility trigger, the VT there. That is Spotgamma's proprietary volatility and gamma flip level. Below that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is negative. In a negative gamma environment, market makers have to trade with price to issue their delta exposure. That tends to enhance or increase volatility. Above that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is positive. In a positive gamma environment, market makers have to trade against price to issue their delta exposure. That tends to subdue or decrease volatility. And we'll take and note that is based on Spotgamma's older model they call the naive model that makes certain assumptions. And we'll take a look at gamma based on their newer model, the synthetic open interest model. All right, the volatility trigger did shift down slightly, just 5 points lower from Friday. And then finally, the call wall is at 6,000. That's a strike with largest net positive gamma that can be expected to act as resistance. That's also the absolute gamma strike. That's a strike with largest absolute positive and negative gamma. And those levels did not change. So the put wall and volatility trigger shifted lower, And for SPY, the put wall also shifted lower, and the absolute gamma strike shifted lower as well. All right, let's wrap up our view of SPX. With a 1 minute chart. All right, so remember I talked about clues for that reversal higher, one of that key turning point. So that was one of the clues right there, that lower daily expected move in SPX acting as support. All right, next, let's go to a 1 minute chart for SPX. This is showing consolidation, the chop that I've talked about for the last few days. So let's zoom in now. So you can see today, support right at the lower daily expected move, and there's the volatility trigger around that level acting as support several times today. And above that is the 5,900 level. That is Spotgamma's key pivot level they were talking about in the AM Founders Note today. And then up above that is a combo level at 5,912. And note also there is we'll take a look at it in just a minute, the gamma. All right, so here's the Bookmap chart now. In a Bookmap, I am showing SPY and SPX levels on this chart, as well as key ES levels. All right, so here's the volatility trigger, 58.95. Then that pivot level at 5,900. And those levels were good entry points for short this morning that I'll talk about in just a few minutes. Also have SPY levels on this chart. There's the SPY 584 large gamma 4 level. That level acted as support along with the SPX lower daily expected move. All right, so those are the key levels in play for today. SPX 58.95, 5,900, and up here is the 5,912 combo level, and then the SPY 584 large gamma 4 level acting as support. And note there is a difference in price between ES and SPX, and that offset today is right around 10 points. And that offset will gradually decrease as time passes until the next contract rollover, which is quickly coming up in June. All right, more about these setups in just a few minutes. All right, let's take a look at NASDAQ now. All right, NASDAQ, similar chart. Brief bullish opening drive. Rally up to the NDX 21,400 large gamma 3 level. Support right around QQQ 516. And then back to the level right around the 21,400 large gamma 3 level. All right, so let's take a look at the underlying index charts. We'll start with QQQ. Actually, we'll start with NDX. So NDX, there's that 21,400 large gamma 3 level. Note the key level at 21,325. That is the absolute gamma strike, as well as the call wall. And around that level, acting as support earlier today. Then the volatility triggers down at 21,190. All right, there were no shifts in levels for NDX. Let's take a look at QQQ. And by the way, these are 1-minute charts in Thinkorswim. All right, so just a couple levels here. None of them really in play except for this combo level. Well, actually, combo level and the 520 level. So that's combo level down below, 18.89. And then at 520, that is a large gamma 2 level. And then the volatility trigger is down at 518. So QQQ was consolidating in a range between the combo level and the 520 level, broke out, and then that 520 level acted as support. All right, back to Bookmap now. So again, I have NDX and QQQ levels on this chart. And the index relationships that I use every day, I do post those in Discord. Okay, so again, there's the 21,400 level acting as resistance. Good good short setup entry point this morning. 520 resistance, then 520 support. All right, shifts and levels for NDX, again, there were none. And then there was a bearish hat trick for QQQ. The volatility trigger put wall and absolute gamma strike all shifted lower. All right, let's wrap up our positional analysis with a look at gamma. So we'll take a quick look at market maker's position on the gamma curve at the beginning of the day based on the older naive model. So this is just to give us a reference point. So again, market maker's position on the gamma curve at the beginning of the day for the SP 500, NASDAQ, Russell 2000. Note the numbers are positive for S&P 500 and NASDAQ, indicating in this model that market makers would have to trade against price, subduing volatility, and then the Russell 2000 still negative gamma. All right, let's take a look now at a couple of views of gamma based on the newer synthetic open interest model. So what this is showing is gamma notional for SPX. And what this is showing is the peak of positive gamma right around 57.45. And then the peak of negative gamma, so this is the zero line here, peak of negative gamma right around 61.75. So negative gamma as price moves up, with SPX right now trading right around 59.07. And we'll see that in the trace model. Let's step back just a little bit. Step back in time. Up to just a few minutes after the open. All right, so the blue shading indicates positive gamma. Again, in positive gamma, you're looking for mean reverting price action with traders, market makers trading against price. And that is primarily at this 59.05 level. Does anyone know what that level is? Anyone? Any idea what that is? All right, that is the short call strike of the JP Morgan collar that expires at the end of this month. And JP Morgan will typically hold a portfolio in this fund, a portfolio of long stocks, and then they buy an out of the money put spread, and to help pay for that put spread, they sell an out of the money call. And the market has rallied pretty substantially, and now SPX trading right around that call. That is very sticky, positive gamma. And again, market makers trading against price around that level. And if price stays around this 5,900 level, that gamma will only increase as the month passes and the end of month expiration approaches. Remember, gamma is greatest at the money at expiration. All right, so let's move forward in time now. So you can see the blue shading below, positive gamma, providing support, and then negative gamma up above, indicating if price starts to move up, breaks away from this 5,900 level, price could move quickly up to maybe 6,000 in that negative gamma environment. All right, so with this move lower this morning, SPX found support in the positive gamma zone, so that's your second clue. Of the support of that level. And we're stepping through time. SPX continues to trade in slightly positive gamma. And note the GEX bars over on the left here. Positive gamma. And that's pretty evident in the let's go back to ES. Pretty evident. You can see as price approached 5,900. So price approached 5,900 pretty rapidly. There's 5,900 this morning. Then once reaching that level, chopped around quite a bit. Tried to break above, chopped around again, and now stuck around this combo level, and also the SPY 590 large gamma 3 level. All right, so pretty quick mean reversion back up to that 5,900 level, and then pretty much chop after that. All right, so the clues for that reversal at 10 a.m. First of all, the SPX lower daily expected move. Second was the positive gamma shown at this reversal at the on the trace heat map here. All right, so right now, SPX again still in this positive gamma zone. Whoops. Yeah, let me refresh that. All right, so let's move on now. Sorry about that. All right, so let's move on now. So we know positive gamma below earlier today, negative gamma up above, and right now SPX trading in a positive gamma zone. We also know there's a lot of positive gamma concentrated right around 5,900 and about 4 strikes above. All right, so let's move on now. Let's talk about some setups. And first of all, let's start with the SP 500. Max says JP Morgan caller. Yeah, that's right. Thank you and welcome, Max. Glad you're here. All right, so let's talk about the two key turning points some more this morning, and then we'll take a look at what options traders have been doing in real time. So again, starting with the SP 500, and I'm going to take a look at what options traders are doing today. So I'm moving now from somewhat static data to real-time data. This is the Hero tool. This is the Hero indicator. It's available to Spotgamma subscribers. What this chart is showing is options trades and market maker hedging activity in real time for the SP 500 components. And that is the SPX, SPY, ES, and XSP. The white line is price for SPX, and the purple line is the Hero signal. And a falling Hero signal indicates traders are taking negative delta options positions. They're buying calls and or selling puts. And a rising hero signal indicates they are buying calls and or selling puts. All right, so let's zoom in on this. So we can see this morning there was a brief bullish opening drive. Lasted about 9 minutes. Then this peak pattern formed and traders started taking negative delta positions and price reversed lower. So those traders that were eager to buy calls, sell puts, and buy stock early in the morning, that didn't last long. Price reversed lower, broke down below the, says the hedge wall there. It's a volatility trigger, 58.95, and then price reversed lower. And again, remember, heading down to that blue positive gamma zone, also the lower daily expected move for SPX. And as price was moving lower, this flow alert came in, signaling significant options activity and often can signal a potential reversal in hedging flow, in this case from negative delta to positive delta. That's exactly what happened. About 5 minutes later, traders started taking positive delta positions and price reversed higher at the SPX lower daily expected move, blue positive gamma zone, and the SPY 585 large gamma 4 level. All levels acting as support as options traders reverse from negative delta to positive delta. And now we can take a look at another signal for the S&P 500. This is the S&P 500 equity signal. And just like the previous chart, the white line is price for SPX, and the purple line is showing options trades and market maker hedging activity for all 500 stocks in the S&P 500 index. So let's zoom in on this. And typically, the S&P 500 index signal shows turning points a little bit more quickly, but is often a little bit more noisy. The S&P 500 equity signal does typically do a better job of indicating overall price direction. So let's take a look at these two key turning points. So again, bullish opening drive, traders taking positive delta positions. Flow alert comes in, signals significant options activity, and a potential reversal in hedging flow. And again, that's exactly what happened. Positive delta to negative delta, price breaks lower, below the 58.95 volatility trigger. And then as price drops, the options traders finally take the foot off the gas. So let's take a closer look. Let's see what options traders are actually doing with puts and calls. I may have to jump to avoid the auto zoom. I'm going to jump back. So let's zoom in on this. All right, so this provides more clarity, and this is a very key reversal here, a call peak pattern. Full alert, call peak pattern, very reliable bearish reversal pattern. Traders are buying calls, that's shown by the orange line. When traders buy calls, market makers sell the calls. They have to buy stock to hedge their delta exposure. And then they take the foot off the gas, start selling calls, price reverses lower. Call peak pattern, very nice reversal. All right, let's go to Bookmap. Let's zoom in. All right, the volume dots in Bookmap show market buy minus sell. Green volume dots indicate more buyers than sellers. Magenta dots indicate more sellers than buyers. All right, so with this initial move higher, you can see the heat map of Bookmap shows the history of limit orders in the auto book. And as price was moving higher, ES found some resistance with the sell orders, limit sell orders, right at 59.18. And then the aggressive sellers started to come in. You can see the magenta volume dots. Price breaks below 5,900, then breaks below 58.95, and they're pretty much nothing but magenta volume dots. Aggressive sellers moving price lower. Finally finding support again at the 585 level and the positive gamma zone, as well as the SPX lower daily expected move. And at that point, aggressive buyers start to come in. Shift from magenta volume dots to green volume dots. Here, cumulative volume delta dropping. That is the blue line changes to magenta, then moves higher again. As traders started taking positive delta options positions, aggressive buyers start to come in at that support zone. All right, any questions about that? So there are clues both in Bookmap and in Spotgamma. Spotgamma levels, as well as the hedging flow. All right, let's take a look at NASDAQ. We'll get to some stocks after that, then to the live market. So again, NASDAQ reversed right around the 21,400 level after a very brief opening drive. Found support right around QQQ 516. Round number level, not a spot gamma level. Then now NASDAQ back up to that 21,400 level. So a very similar chart pattern to the S&P 500. Very bullish opening drive, quick reversal lower, quick reversal higher, then consolidation breakout. I talked about that before. 520 acting as resistance, then support. And now NASDAQ chopping around the 400 level, 21,400 level. So let's see what options traders are doing. Let's go to Hero. I'm going to shift back to the total signal. And for NASDAQ, there are two signals that we can take a look at as well. First is the index signal showing options trades and market maker hedging activity for NDX and QQQ. Same peak pattern, bullish opening drive, and then market maker hedging flow. Options trades quickly shift to negative delta and price moves lower. All right, so that's the index signal. Again, call peak pattern, very reliable. Bearish reversal pattern. Bearish momentum after that reversal. Traders buying puts, shown by the blue line, selling calls, shown by the falling orange line. So call peak pattern and then bearish momentum as price move lower. All right, let's take a look at the Mag 7 signal. So this is similar to the S&P 500 equities, which is actually the Mag 7 plus 493. So similar pattern, very prominent call peak pattern here. So after 940, traders were selling calls, buying puts. Again, call peak pattern, bearish momentum, price moves lower. All right, let's take a look at some stocks. Anybody have any questions about the indexes? Let's take a look at some stocks, then we'll get to the live market. All right, the first stock I want to take a look at is Amazon. Let's zoom in on this. So in the morning, Amazon was primarily driven by put buyers. That's shown by the falling blue line. Looks like a couple of block orders here, large institutional orders, helping to move price lower. So that's Amazon. Then they quickly took their foot off the gas just after 10 a.m., started selling puts, buying calls. Looks like they continue to buy calls, and now price back up toward the highs of the day. All right, let's take a look at Bookmap. We'll go to Amazon and Bookmap. There's that brief opening drive. Reversal lower. Amazon found support, double bottom here. And price reversed higher as traders shifted from negative delta to positive delta. And now Amazon back up to around the highs of the day. Note for the stocks, the liquidity in the order book typically stacks up in the round number levels, and those, not always, those levels typically, those orders typically remain in place until they're filled. So they come in at the cash open and will remain in place until they're filled until the close. All right, so that's Amazon. Next stock, Meta. Very bullish day in Amazon, Meta here. 645, key gamma strike. That's around the opening print. And a very bullish opening drive, up 15 points from 645 up to 660. Let's see what options traders are doing. Then a 10-point pullback right down to 650, and all along a lot of aggressive buyers. You can see all the green volume dots and rising cumulative volume delta. So let's take a look, see what options traders have been doing in Meta today. Go to Meta. It's all call buyers, driving price higher. Bullish opening drive. Flow alert comes in just after the cash open. Get your attention, signals significant options activity. Aggressive buyers. And up until about 9:39, call buyers take the foot off the gas. Meta consolidates, move back, remember right around to that 650 level. Pull back, and then call buyers step in again right around 12:15. And Meta continues to move higher. Looks like a large block order, institutional order, came in right just after 1:30, and now the call buyers have taken the foot off the gas. And Meta consolidating again. Let's go back to Bookmap. So again, bullish opening drive, call peak pattern, 10-point pullback to 650, and then a rally up to the liquidity at 668. And that, remember that large block order, then the call buyers took their foot off the gas. All right, next stock, NVDA. Not really much to see here. Really didn't turn out to be much. So NVDA really kind of consolidating after its earnings report last week. Let's see what options traders are doing. All right, so another call peak pattern. Very prominent call peak, bearish reversal pattern. After that, traders are buying puts, selling calls, but not a lot of range in that movement. And they took the foot off the gas. And now the call buyers have come back in right around 1140. And price grinding higher. And note the options traders are fighting all the aggressive sellers. You can see all the magenta volume dots as well as the falling cumulative volume delta. All right, next stock, Tesla. Very sharp reversal this morning. Very brief bullish opening drive. Let's see what options traders are doing. Go to Tesla. This is a little bit of an unusual pattern for Tesla. Normally there's a much more prominent peak, especially in the calls, but this was more of a just kind of a rolling over. So again, like other stocks, indexes, brief, bullish opening drive, flow alert comes in, gets your attention, and signals a potential reversal in the hedging flow from, again, this in this case, positive delta or negative delta, but much more rolling price action than is normal for Tesla. Let me zoom out just a little bit. So first 10 minutes or so, traders buying calls, selling puts, and that reverses right around 9:45 and really starts to get going lower. So after that point, after 9:45, bearish momentum. Traders buying puts, blue line, selling calls, orange line. Price drops down almost to the 335 hedge wall. And then finally broke below the hedge wall right around 1110. Found support at that level, and that's where the call sellers finally took their foot off the gas. Now Tesla trying to make its way higher. So let's go back to Bookmap. So there's that 335 hedge wall. Price did break down below that level. The limit buy orders into that level. So there the previous test. Price didn't quite make it to that level and then broke down below. Those limit buy orders at that level were consumed. Back up to 340. All right, last stock I want to take a look at, then we'll get a live market. Unless anybody has any stocks they want me to take a look at. Take a look at Palantir. A lot of aggressive sellers. You can see all the magenta volume dots, falling cumulative volume delta. Let's see what options traders have been doing. Go to Palantir. And in the case of Palantir, there really wasn't much of a bullish opening drive. Traders started selling calls almost immediately after the open. When traders sell calls, market makers buy the calls. They have to sell stock to hedge their delta exposure. Pull back, and price continued to move lower as traders sold calls. And they really didn't take the foot off the gas until about 11:30. Started buying calls, and Palantir did break down below its 130 call wall key gamma strike and is now trading back above that level. Looks like right now traders have resumed selling calls and Palantir moving lower. All right, so that's Palantir. Call sellers and aggressive sellers selling stock. All right, does anyone have any stocks they want me to take a look at? All right, while you're thinking about that, let's go check the indexes. All right, so it looks like the ES is broken out now. So we'll take a look at that. So it looks like a stop run up into the liquidity right around 59.30, and then the SPY 591 level just above that. Stop run shown by the rising yellow line. And let's see what options traders are doing. All right, I'm going to go back to the total signal. Go to the S&P 500 index signal. Pretty noisy, pretty choppy. So the index signal started to move higher right around 115, let's say 113, something like that. And price responding higher. And it continues to move higher. Traders taking positive delta positions. So there's that 212, 213. Breakout as the hero signal was moving higher. You can see all the green volume dots as well. A lot of aggressive buyers, buy stop orders. Large traders are fading that with iceberg orders they use to hide the size that's shown by the falling light blue line, but they have been for quite some time. All right, aggressive move higher. That could be, I don't know if there's any news. Let me do a quick check. Is anyone aware of any news? Are the only news that I see, and this came out on Financial Juice, Trump administration wants nation's best offer by Wednesday in tariff talks, draft of request, and that was at 209. Let's just check here. That's 209 right there. Initially, very little bearish reaction to that, then a reversal higher. All right, let's see where the S&P 500 might be headed. All right, so there's the ES upper daily expected to move up above with this dashed blue line. That is ES upper daily expected to move, different from the SPX upper daily expected move. And then there's the SPX 5950 level. Then, of course, ES 5950. And remember that negative gamma up above. If price, indicating if price breaks out of this positive gamma area, then a potential for a quick move higher. So let's go back to trace. Let me zoom in just a little bit. All right, so that last blue GEX bar at 5920. After that, and that's SPX 5920, which would be right around NQ 5930. And then some negative gamma up above that, the red GEX bars. And note now SPX is up against the Spotgamma implied one-day move high. That is that line right here. And we'll check Hero. And that Spotgamma implied one-day move high is right around 5923.82. And that is based on the opening price for SPX from today. Let's check the, and that is Spotgamma's model based on gamma levels, I believe. And then the more traditional way of looking at expected move based on the options market I have on this chart, and that would be up above 59.60. So still quite a ways up. All right, Hero continues to move up, maybe slowing down a little bit now. Back to Bookmap. Some sellers have come in now. Limit sell order shown on the heat map here, and then more limit sell orders up above at 59.40. Large traders continue to fade this move with iceberg orders. Let's turn on the stops and icebergs on chart indicator. It'll take that a moment to load. All right, still waiting on the stops and icebergs on chart indicator to load. All right, so there we go. All right, so you can see the buy stop orders helping to fuel the move higher. That's shown by the small green dot above price. Help to fuel that move higher. All right, so there's the buy stop orders, and then the iceberg orders. And it looks like there have been a lot of smaller orders here. 59 executed. These are ES contracts selling 125 executed, 140 executed, and 2 executions. 50 executed, 2 executions. Another 268 and 3 executions. So large traders are fading that move up with iceberg orders. Again, they used to hide their size. And now some aggressive sellers are starting to come in. And again, also you can see the limit sell orders in the order book. I'm zooming out. So this is the iceberg orders for the day from around the cash open. They've been selling all day long. So steady selling all day long with iceberg orders. All right, let's do a quick check of Hero. See what options traders are doing. All right, so the options traders have taken the foot off the gas, and I'm going to want to maintain this zoom level. Now they're coming in again, buying. Let's take a look at another. I'm going to open up another link of Hero here. We'll go to the equities full screen. So that is moving higher. So traders continue to take positive delta positions in the SP 500 equities. And that should continue to drive price higher. And again, remember, trace showing negative gamma up above. So price breaks above, and it looks like it's doing it right now, breaking above this positive gamma into negative gamma. That would be inducive for a quicker move higher in negative gamma, breaking out of this positive gamma zone into negative gamma. All right, questions? Last call, questions, comments? All right, remember to take a photo of your trading desk and post that on X, Instagram, or LinkedIn for a chance to win prizes. First prize, $1,000 when you're a Bookmap Global with data. Second prize, $500. Third prize, 3 months of Bookmap Global Plus with data. All right, everyone, thank you very much for watching. And I will see you on Wednesday. Have a great afternoon. Again, I'll see you on Wednesday. Thanks for watching. Bye.